In this video, I'm gonna explore alternate endings for the Bulgarian nation. Usually, these types of videos don't have commentary, but I believe that what I say would provide some interesting historical background associated with the alternate ending. First off, we got Fourth Rome Bulgaria. The flag of this potential nation might look something like this, incorporating the Roman red and the Byzantine purple. The leader would be Emperor Ferdinand I, and the capital would be Tsarigrad, which was the name used to refer to Constantinople in Bulgaria at that time. In the late 19th and early 20th century, Bulgaria was under the rule of Ferdinand I, who harbored ambitions to recreate the glory of the Byzantine Empire. The idea of Fourth Rome Bulgaria, or a Bulgaria whose leader is partially a successor to the Roman emperors of old, was inspired by the historical significance of Constantinople, which had once been the capital city of the Eastern Roman Empire. Ferdinand I saw himself as a potential successor to the Roman legacy, envisioning the city's recapture as a road to personal glory and prestige for his nation. However, this grand vision remained unfulfilled due to complex geopolitical factors, including the opposition from the European powers such as Russia and the Ottoman Empire, obviously, and the failure to capture Constantinople in the First Balkan War. Even if Bulgaria managed to capture Constantinople by winning the Battle of Chitauge and concluding the First Balkan War with the city occupied, none of the great powers would have been happy with them annexing it for themselves. Russia wanted Constantinople because they believed themselves to be the successor of the Byzantine Empire, calling themselves the Third Rome. Austria-Hungary wanted to dominate the Balkans, therefore they would not like Bulgaria to get any stronger. Greece and the Ottoman Empire saw Constantinople as historically and ethnically belonging to them, and Britain desired control over the straits of the Dardanelles and the Bosphorus. If Bulgaria somehow manages to diplomatically maneuver between all those motivations and with certain concessions and caveats annex Constantinople, they would have proclaimed themselves the successor of the Byzantine Empire, and Ferdinand I leveled up his title to emperor. Bulgaria might cede some parts of Thrace to Britain or Greece. For example, Britain may gain the Gallipoli Peninsula and land around it to secure the Dardanelles. The Fourth Rome Bulgaria would be even more hated by its Balkan neighbors. Greece would see them as the successor of the Byzantine Empire and the rightful owners of Thrace and Constantinople. The Ottomans would want to reclaim their lost land even more, and Serbia and Romania would be seeing an opportunity for an alliance against Bulgaria that would gain them more territory. Therefore, I do not believe this nation would make it past World War I. It would probably get divided either in the years before that by an anti-Bulgarian Balkan League, or it would be dragged into the First World War and be partially or fully dismantled. The next ending is a union between Bulgaria and Romania. The Polako-Bulgarian Union, as it might be known after its formation, would probably at first have the flag of Romania and King Carol I of Romania, and now Bulgaria, as its king. In 1887, Ferdinand, who later became Tsar of Bulgaria, was offered the Bulgarian throne. He was a German prince and had no direct claim on the throne of the country, so his ascension required approval from the great powers of Europe. And fun fact, Queen Victoria disapproved of him becoming Tsar because she thought he was too girly for the job. There was a plan for a potential personal union between Romania and Bulgaria around the late 19th century. King Carol I was to serve as both King of Bulgaria and Romania. However, the plan was ultimately not realized because the major European powers preferred the two countries to stay separated. As a result, Ferdinand I became Bulgaria's monarch, and he was officially crowned Tsar of Bulgaria in 1908. However, if for some reason a union between those countries was realized, the nation would be relatively weak at first, since it had to manage a rather difficult domestic situation, but later on would become a powerhouse in the Balkans, surpassing the Ottoman Empire and maybe even Austria-Hungary. Bulgaria and Romania actually had pretty similar goals in the late 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. Both countries wanted to incorporate more territories from their neighbors. Romania wanted to get Transylvania from the Austro-Hungarian Empire and modern-day Moldova from the Russian Empire. Bulgaria in turn wanted to expand into the Ottoman Empire by reclaiming Eastern Romania, Macedonia and Thrace. I believe around the time of the First Balkan War, and maybe even before that, there would be a coalition which dismantles the Ottoman Empire's territories in the Balkans. The Kingdom of Romania and Bulgaria would stand to gain the most territory because it would have the largest army in the Balkan League and would be able to expand faster and further than any other nation. The kingdom might be able to realize the Bulgarian dream of owning all of Macedonia, including the modern-day Greek province Macedonia, which harbors the city of Thessaloniki. The nation would not be able to expand to Thrace like Bulgaria did in the First Balkan War, because they would be too focused on the Western Front. They also might incorporate the city of Niš that Serbia took in our timeline. After this, the kingdom would have its chance to expand again in the First World War or in the interwar period. The kingdom, like Romania in our timeline, would incorporate Transylvania from Austria-Hungary if they joined on the Entente side, and unlike Romania, which after their entry into the war on the Entente side immediately lost most of their country, this new kingdom would fare pretty well against the weak Austro-Hungarian army and might even end the war a year or two quicker by capitulating Austria-Hungary. They would also expand their territories to the east. However, sadly for the kingdom of Bulgaria and Romania, the Second World War would probably not be too kind for them, because even if they joined the Allied side and technically won the war, they would still be part of the Red Bloc and on the east of the Red Curtain, and therefore suffer decades of oppression and economic stagnation. The country would probably lose some territories. For example, the Soviet Union would incorporate Moldova like they did in our timeline, and some parts of the country like Niš and Macedonia might go to the Federal Socialist Republic of Yugoslavia, and maybe parts of Thrace would go to Greece, which would still be part of the democratic bloc. During its communist years, the country's flag might look something like this. If after the fall of communism, the two nations remain united, they would be the dominant force in the Balkans. Their position would be similar to Poland's right now, bolstering a large army and a fairly decent industry, but still suffering from corruption and lack of economic development. The flag might resemble something like this, might have a modern style and incorporate lots of colors to resemble all of the ethnic groups within the Republic of Romania and Bulgaria. The hypothetical Third Bulgarian Empire is rooted in the events surrounding the Second Balkan War in 1913. The Third Bulgarian Empire realizes the San Stefano borders, which Bulgaria in the 20th century was so desperate to achieve. The Second Balkan War began due to territorial disputes and rivalries amongst the Balkan nations. In other words, the usual shtick. Bulgaria, unsatisfied with their territorial expansion, more specifically the inability to capture Thessaloniki and Constantinople and secure all of Macedonia for themselves, initiated hostilities against their former allies, Greece and Serbia. The war, while initially successful due to the rushed nature of the Bulgarian surprise attack, quickly faced insurmountable challenges, including the organization of opposition from their former allies and the entry of Romania and the Ottoman Empire into the war. Romanian and Ottoman military commanders, acting somewhat independently, initiated hostilities against Bulgaria. These factors led to Bulgaria's defeat and significant territorial losses. This marked the first national catastrophe for Bulgaria and was the first war in their lose streak, which continues to this day. But if Bulgaria somehow managed to defeat Serbia, Greece, Romania and the Ottoman Empire, maybe with the help of external factors or by actually preparing for the conflict instead of relying on a surprise offensive, a greater Bulgarian nation might have been achieved, once again incorporating all of Macedonia, most of Thrace, and expanding its Black Sea coast by taking the Romanian part of the Bruja. If the nation manages to stabilize and secure the support of the great powers, it would actually become a pure stone of stability and power in the Balkans. The nation would not enter World War I and therefore not suffer the major loss of life and impact to the economy like the other nations, because in this timeline the Third Bulgarian Empire has no further interest in territorial expansion. Rather the opposite, they will be focused on defending what they already have. It is difficult to say what would happen in World War II, because the absence of Bulgaria from the Central Powers actually changes a lot in the war, but that's a topic for another video. And let's just say that if Bulgaria manages to keep all of this territory to the modern day, politics in the Balkans would be quite interesting. Bulgarian Soviet Socialist Republic, or a Bulgarian SSR. This is a potential ending where Bulgaria becomes part of the Soviet Union. In the mid-20th century, the concept of Bulgaria becoming a Soviet Socialist Republic was the subject of debate. Proponents of the idea within Bulgaria included certain political factions and individuals who believed in the principles of communism and sought closer alignment with the Soviet Union. Their arguments are rooted in socialist ideology and the hope for economic and political benefits that could come from being a part of the Soviet Union. On the other hand, there was significant opposition and reluctance to this idea. Some Bulgarians favored maintaining Bulgaria's independent socialist government, viewing it as a form of national identity and autonomy. The opposition came from those who were wary of potential Soviet domination and were concerned about loss of sovereignty. Additionally, the geopolitical context played a crucial role in shaping Bulgaria's path. Bulgaria's identity, more as a Balkan nation than a Slavic one, ultimately the biggest challenge of Bulgaria becoming part of the Soviet Union was the lack of land connection to the other socialist republics, which would essentially make it a more isolated part of the Soviet Union, more similar to other satellite states than the socialist republics that the Soviet Union was made out of. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, this Bulgarian Socialist Republic will resemble Bulgaria in our timeline. Maybe their population is slightly larger, and a larger percentage of that is Russians, since when it was part of the Soviet Union, there might have been more immigration. The country would have a similar economy and global standing. There is a slight chance that it will join the Union state with Belarus and Russia and be part of the Russian bloc instead of NATO. The Ottoman-Bulgaria Empire. At the turn of the 20th century, the idea of unifying Bulgaria with the Ottoman Empire in a structure reminiscent to the Austro-Hungarian model was proposed. Advocates for the Ottoman-Bulgarian Empire envisioned shared governance and cooperation. The Bulgarian Exarch was an ecclesiastical institution created in 1870 to serve the religious needs of the Bulgarian Orthodox Christian population under Ottoman rule. It was also viewed by some as a potential political and administrative entity. The idea of the Exarchy being the nucleus for a potential union state between Bulgaria and the Ottoman Empire gained some support. However, this proposal for a union state did not come to fruition. The Bulgarian Exarchy ultimately remained an ecclesiastical institution rather than a political one. The quest for greater autonomy and independence continued through other means, including the establishment of the Principality of Bulgaria and later the full independence of the country. The main reason that the union failed is that the Bulgarian side wanted more than just to be an autonomous part of the empire, and the Ottoman side wanted Bulgaria to have the least amount of autonomy as possible. If more national leaders from both sides supported the idea, there might have been a union implemented between the two countries. The union state would probably not join World War I, but since the Ottoman Empire was essentially forced to join by its own military commanders, a similar entry into World War I is possible, but before that, this new dual monarchy would suffer a lighter defeat in the Balkan Wars. I believe the conflict would be in a much smaller scale, with only Serbia, Greece and Montenegro joining together to fight the Ottoman Empire. They would gain some more territories, but there won't be massive land loss like there was in our timeline. It is unlikely that the nation could survive to the modern day. Maybe they're dismantled in World War II, or just choose to separate after that. Most likely, if the two countries choose to separate, both of them would have more territory than they have right now. Yugoslav Bulgaria. In a case where Bulgaria joined Yugoslavia, the nation might have been fragmented into 3 or 4 separate republics. After the breakup of Yugoslavia in the following wars, those republics might have not reunited. Alternatively, and less likely, if Bulgaria joined Yugoslavia, it might have been given Macedonia, and after the breakup of the federation, Bulgaria could have joined the Yugoslav wars and maybe kept all of Macedonia or some parts of it. Global warming Bulgaria. In an era marked by growing environmental concern, the concept of global warming Bulgaria envisions a world where climate change presents a significant challenge, and the ocean levels have risen significantly. This Bulgaria would probably be a part of a larger federation, for example, a more centralized European Union, because with the water level rising and the temperature changed due to the greenhouse effect, Europe and the rest of the world would probably be destabilized, and smaller countries would want to join larger union states so they have a large army backing them and they're not plundered by resource wars. The borders of the country might look something like this, assuming that the European Federation does not collapse and attacks some of its neighbors. The Greater Tsardom of Bulgaria. Following the start of World War I, Bulgaria explored opportunities for expansion. If it had joined the Entente powers and emerged victorious in the Great War, the Greater Tsardom of Bulgaria would have reclaimed some of its lost territory in the Second Balkan War, at least if we believe the promises of the Allies. Bulgaria had an agreement with Greece over Macedonia, which might split the region like this, and in the London Conference of 1915, they were promised these lands, which I'm gonna give to them. This Bulgaria would probably retain most of its territories, because if we follow the path set by our timeline, even if Bulgaria joins Germany in World War II, they would not suffer any territorial losses. In fact, they might even gain land, since Bulgaria in our timeline was the only losing power that came out larger than it came into the war. Tell me in the comments if you want me to continue this series. There are many more endings that I can showcase. Alternatively, if you want me to make an alternative history scenario on one of those nations, also leave it in the comments. If you want to see more cool flags, you can watch this video. Or if you want to see an alternative history that features World War I, click here.